Hey, this is BA, and we're doing part 2 of WD Gann intraday analysis. We did the original analysis on June 1 of 2023. There's 3 main elements that are needed. Step 1, law of vibration, and Gann teaches that in the tunnel book. For the intraday component, there are several items in his tunnel book. One that is extremely important and relates directly to intraday is Sunday. So you would want to go in there and you'd want to study around the word Sunday. The second element that is needed is patterns of angles. Patterns of angles. We're going to get more into that here in a minute. That's really the focus of this presentation. Part 1 of the series found a pattern on June 1st, 2023 in the intraday correlating the main angles, and we will go further into that here. We're going to explore that. Step 3 is the daily pattern recognition, and that will be in part 3 of this series. We're not going to get into that here and now. This was the first move, this was the second move, and this was the third move. We analyzed that on the part 1. This is the angles from them. The 18.52.179, 17.025. These angles on the June 1 analysis hovered around the 175 area. The decimal placement does not matter at this point. Now, to get your head around that, there's another element that is brought in to tell you if it's going to stop at 179 or 17.9 or 1.79. There's another element that you bring in to give you that answer. But at this level of the analysis, all of those angles are identical as far as the closeness of them go. Step 2 and part 2 shown here is define patterns of angles. Now see, after I released step 1, I went back and I thought, well, some people are going to think that, the next step to this is going to be to take these angles that you're seeing in front of you and to go and find a day where those exactly repeat or very close to them. And that's not the case. That's not what we're going to do. And I would not do that way. There's actually 2 elements here. There's the fact that it moved up, it moved slightly down, and then it moved slightly up. We'd want to look first for kind of a similar pattern on a day, on the intraday, and then you'd want to look at your angles, and they should hover around the same area and not these exact numbers. The goal is to find a day where there were 3 moves that constituted the bulk of the day, and the angles were about the same value. The value could be 150, 220, 175 as it is here. The value does not matter, meaning we're not trying to specifically match this. Specifically looking at, for a day of this nature where the angles are again hovering around 175 is not the goal. It could hover around any number as long as there is a pattern within the 3 main angles present on that day. I'm going to give you a few examples as what constitutes that and what to throw away. Here we have angles hovering around the 245 area. This is acceptable. Here the angles are hovering around 133, even though the 12.8 is further out than the other 2. It's still acceptable. It's still acceptable. Here we have 16.2, 0.125, and 15.8. They're within range of each other, but the 0.125, the 0.125 is too far away from the others. There's no pattern here that's similar, because if you take the extreme 16.2 and the 0.125, you get a difference of about 40. That's beyond what we're using in this instrument previously. And that is where you could get into trouble. These hover in the same area, but the range, again, defined by the difference between the extreme high value, 2.43, and the extreme low value of 20.053 is 42.5. In our original June 1 of 23, our difference is about 15. There's a significant difference between 15 and 42 as far as range is concerned. So be careful. Even though these look okay, the question would be, how do you know on your instrument what the range is? Well, you would test it. Right? Because see, range varies. On each instrument, your range is going to vary. There's no set rule. So you can't take this information on the S&P. You can't take that and go, and go into gold, because each instrument has their own personality. Wouldn't work. Angles rarely, and I mean rarely, repeat exact numbers. And, a little bit more on that. When they do, okay, we would, as an example, if you're looking for a day again around the 175 area and you found it, okay, that's really not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is pattern recognition. And the reason for that you're looking for pattern is because then you have defined the day. You can look back and see where it repeated from, or when was the last time it repeated. You have to have some sort of analysis to get you in some sort of way of quantifying this. And that's what we're looking at. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to quantify these things so that we know how to analyze days to see which ones are related and which ones are not. Again, and I can't say this enough, do not look for exact repeats when seeking out patterns. Another way of looking at the angles is when a segment repeats, it repeats from somewhere. This is the basis of all of Gann's systems, is this repetition. That's our goal here, is to quantify the days and then analyze, okay, why did this repeat, let's say 116 days later? Why did this repeat 120 days later? When it repeats here, the angle values are not the same, but the pattern of angles is what repeats. Very important things to keep in mind as we move forward.